Alright, so yeah, today let's talk about the Yamaha HS8 Studio Monitors. Is it actually worth it to buy a pair of these speakers? Let's talk about that. Okay, so even though the Yamaha HS8 are already a couple of years old, these studio monitors are right now the newest version of the good old HS8 from 2006. And yeah, right now there are multiple options that you can buy. First the smallest version, the HS5, next the HS7, and last but not least the HS8, and this one is the biggest version. Next to these monitors you can still buy the HS8S, which is a subwoofer, so if you need that extra push in the low end, that might be a great idea. But we will talk about the bass later in this video. First let's start with the design and the basics. Basically, the Yamaha HS8 isn't a small speaker, so especially if you're limited in space, it might be better to choose one of the smaller versions like the HS5 or HS7. If we take a look at the front side of the Yamaha HS8, we can clearly see the big white woofer, the smaller tweeter on top of it, and the glowing Yamaha logo if the speakers are turned on. If we now switch to the back side of the speaker, we got everything that we need. So the standard features like the XLR and TRS jack, the AC in, and the power on and off switch. Some more features are the level switch from 0 to 10 dB, the room control, and the high trim. So yeah, in the end what you should notice is that there are all kind of inputs and settings that you need to get started. But what I need to mention is that you need additional equipment to use these speakers. So yeah, you can't connect these speakers directly to your computer. What you need, for example, is an XLR cable and an audio interface like the Focusrite Scarlett. That's in my opinion the easiest way to get started because it's plug and play and you're set. On top you can even connect microphones and headphones to it, and you also have the volume control right here, which is really important for the overall workflow with the HS8. In my opinion, in the end, that's an all-in-one package, so if you're just getting started, I highly recommend to check out the Focusrite Scarlett as well. But yeah, back to the HS8. In my opinion, the design of the HS8 is just great. Especially the simple black and white combination looks fantastic in the studio, and the glowing Yamaha logo just looks great. And of course it's extremely helpful because you will never forget to turn off these speakers. Next to the black and white version that I use all the time here in my studio, there's also a white version, so just buy the one that fits your studio design. But yeah, in general the HS8 is a great looking studio monitor that offers everything that you need to get started. And that's of course the perfect opportunity to talk about the most important factor here, the sound. The Yamaha HS8 are developed for music production or in general high quality audio production. Of course you can use them for basic things like gaming for example, but in this case I highly recommend to buy something else because the HS8 are designed to work on audio. So in the end they won't always give you the best possible sound. Instead you can actually hear a bad audio mix, or if maybe your instrument needs different EQ adjustments and so on. So definitely keep that in your mind before you buy a pair of these speakers, especially if you don't want to use them for audio production. In this case I highly recommend to buy a pair of speakers that are actually designed for these kind of things like gaming for example. But in all kind of other cases, especially in the audio production genre, the HS8 are great speakers in that price category. I really like the overall natural and pure sound of these speakers, and they made it way easier for me to get better results. Especially if you compare these speakers to other speakers in this price category, the HS8 are one of the best, and in my opinion there are speakers out there that are way more expensive and they still won't give you such a nice sound for your production. But of course there's another thing that we need to talk about that I already mentioned in the beginning of this video, and here we need to talk about the bass. And yes, there's the additional HS8M for some extra bass, but in my opinion there is more than enough bass if you have the HS8. You can even bring down the bass with the room control feature on the backside of the HS8 by -4 or -2 dB, and I never had any huge problems here to find the right balance. So in my opinion in most cases you won't need the additional bass, but this totally depends on your own studio and your preferences. So what I would recommend is to start with the HS8 and later on buy the HS8M if you need that extra push. So if you now take a look at the highs, there's also a switch for +2 dB or -2 dB, so here you can adjust these settings a little bit as well. But in the end the overall balance between the high and low frequencies is great, especially if you want to have a nice flat response for mixing and mastering. But the basic question of this video is, should you buy the HS8? And well, in my opinion, since I bought the HS8, I don't want to miss them anymore. The overall design and build quality is fantastic, the additional features on the backside are great to get the best possible solution for your studio, and the most important part, which is the sound quality, is top notch. For around $240 each you will get a nice studio monitor that will help you to get better results, and especially if you compare the HS8 to other speakers in the same price category, there's only a small amount of speakers that might be worth it to check out. Only if you have a smaller room I highly recommend to check out the HS5 or HS7, but this totally depends on your own preferences. But yeah, in the end, in all kind of other situations I can definitely say that I highly recommend to check out the HS8. Okay, so yeah, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, video, and if you're new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to stay updated for our upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next video.